first Doctor Strange movie was a little bit of a weird MCU film, lying kind of in the middle of both being one of the generic films with its uninteresting villain, not an entirely engaging story, and overall same comedy style as all the previous films, but boasting some of the most insane visuals I had seen in a film up to that point, finally bringing the MCU into the magical areas of Marvel, and having some pretty interesting scenarios, especially in its finale, helping it be a little bit over those generic films compared to something like Thor: The Dark World or something. And as the films progressed, I became more and more interested in Doctor Strange, as he was that fun character that could do some insane stuff without knowing what he's truly and fully capable of. So of course I waited for a sequel with pretty high hopes, since out of most characters, Strange had the most unique corner of Marvel and could go crazy. And when it was announced that director Sam Raimi of all people would helm the next project, I kind of lost my mind. Which brings us to the latest film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I saw, and has left me somewhat confused and unsure. You see, this has wonderful aspects to it, with amazing visual effects, creative fights, mostly, and a sense of horror thanks to Sam Raimi, but that's only part of the time. At certain points it feels like a Sam Raimi movie, but then at others it feels like a studio film. It's wildly inconsistent in a lot of different aspects. But I'm gonna get into the stuff that I like first, since this film boasts a lot of good stuff, like how the camera work here is fantastic, with some neat angles used and doing a lot more than just reverse shot for conversations. Like, this is currently the best looking and shot MCU film, hands down. I may not have been the biggest fan of the film constantly using cheap jump scares, but the horror elements in here helped give it a unique identity that lent itself well to the film. And it worked especially well when Wanda was chasing the main cast, and coupled with the use of the more violent kills here and creative fight scenes, made the stakes seem even higher. All of the returning cast from the previous films do a great job here, with no one doing bad. Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen are clearly the standouts though, both playing their respective characters perfectly, although trying to do their best with the material given to them. I enjoyed seeing Steven dealing with the ramifications of letting Thanos get the Time Stone, and how that's affected people, even if it was the only way. And the message he learns of being happy for what he has and just moving on was a good one and used well throughout the story, especially when mirrored with the other Doctor Stranges that were shown throughout the film. I have more to discuss on her, but I enjoyed Wanda in this film, and I was pleasantly surprised by her being the villain of the movie. She came off as a legitimate threat throughout the whole thing, and I was absolutely terrified of her at a couple points, and she was just an absolute monster. It was wonderful to see her finally let loose. The news character, however, American Chavez, didn't feel like a character though in this film. She was more of a plot device than anything else. She had moments from time to time where I could definitely see a bit of character, like at the pizza stand with Bruce Campbell, or the flashback with her moms, but those were so few and far between that I couldn't really care that much about her. Though she wasn't annoying or anything, luckily, so I could tolerate her, and honestly, she'll probably become a pretty fun character going forward when we see her next. It'll probably just take a little bit of time in order to give her an actual identity. Alright, now it's time for me to complain. I tried to temper my expectations for this film when going in, not expecting every single Marvel movie of the past to show up. I did, however, expect for the film to explore other multiverses. But instead, the film is pretty much set in like 3 different ones. The regular one we've all known and seen throughout the MCU, the Illuminati universe, and the destroyed one with evil Doctor Strange, which felt like a major letdown since we were shown all of these other universes, like in the trailers, like the painted one, the old-timey one, and another one that actually looked like an old-timey cartoon, but they were on screen for only like 2 seconds, so not experiencing other universes was pretty lackluster, especially when the ones we do explore are pretty much just like ours, but with minor differences. Like, wow, the stoplight is green and the go light is red. How amazing and ingeniously different.
Wow, you can
change the stop and go colors.
That is big news.
Additionally, the fights to me didn't go far enough into the insane directions I think they should have gone, excluding some of the parts with the giant hentai monster, or the wonderfully creative music battle which was a joy to watch, or the final one with Zombie Strange. But the other ones just felt kind of bland, and nothing really seemed like you could only do those fights with these specific characters. Like, Scarlet Witch for a majority of the time only shoots fireballs. Yeah, she kills some people in some pretty graphic ways, but then she goes back to doing some generic stuff like that. Like, you're telling me that the Scarlet Witch, a being that can change reality to whatever she wants, had a tough time trying to kill a super soldier?
What the fuck?
And there's even a hand-to-hand fight between sorcerers with nothing else? Like, even with the original's magic karate, they at least allowed the setting or actions to be unique, and I would say a film like Shang-Chi did way better in the martial arts department. However, the one place that I do think the film dropped the ball most was undoubtedly the writing. Because the film introduces ideas that are used well here, but open up a whole myriad of questions that lead to the film creating plot holes for itself. Like, why did Wanda stop sending demons and monsters to go get America if she wasn't able to go into different realities when the Darkhold was destroyed? Which also then begs the question as to why she didn't dreamwalk at the beginning of the film, if she was pretty much the most powerful being in the multiverse at that point. She didn't do it at the beginning to give Strange a chance to surrender America, but since he didn't know any of this was going on, why didn't she just start with that, like when Strange Supreme was with America at the very beginning of the film? Also, it's kinda stupid to have a film include these books of insane and great power, but both can be destroyed with ease. Like, the Darkhold is just stabbed and then completely destroyed, but then it doesn't matter since it's then written somewhere else too. And the Book of Ashanti has this massive build-up for it throughout the film, literally being stated as to allow the user to use any magical spell they need, and it was destroyed before anyone could use it. What the hell? Especially when it's supposed to be apparently the antithesis to the Darkhold. But then Wanda was using Darkhold power to then destroy the thing that's also meant to counter the Darkhold. What? And then this all leads into a finale that kind of falls flat a little bit. Like, it starts off strong with Doctor Strange possessing a dead version of himself in his universe, and then uses demons as a cloak, which was one of the most creative, creepy, and awesome things I have seen in the MCU so far. But then it devolves into America literally getting the power of
what you really wanted was inside you all along.
Pep talk, and then is able to stand toe-to-toe with Wanda for a bit? Like, how? Wanda literally showed how she could make reality whatever she wanted to be, but couldn't deal with getting punched harder by someone else?
Right.
And speaking of Wanda, the whole movie kind of backtracks on her whole arc from WandaVision, from her understanding to let go of the past and maybe not be a monster and torture people, to then just straight up killing people for her not real children, who I guess are real? What? Like, apparently the fake reality she created used the children that actually existed in other universes, which then translates to her trying to justify either kidnapping them or killing her alternate self. To which Strange rightfully points out how that is completely stupid and terrible, to which she then responds like a literal child tattletaling on someone with, "Well, you did this thing and people like you for it." And then the film is using this as a way to show that Wanda is weirdly misunderstood.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair.
Like that. That right there is what I am talking about. The film tries to make it seem as though Wanda isn't entirely in the wrong, or at least that Steven is being treated better than her even though he did the same thing. Well, newsflash, they're not the same. Steven had to break the laws of time in order to prevent Earth from being brought into the Dark Dimension and ruled by Dormammu. He literally let himself die over and over again infinitely to protect Earth. Additionally, when he was fighting Thanos, he literally sacrificed his own life, including everyone else's, since he knew that they would be able to come back and still beat him. He still put his life on the line in order to do this. Wanda just got upset because she lost a loved one and then made an entire town her puppets while torturing them in order to live out a fantasy. And that has still not been addressed as a bad thing. But then it doesn't matter because the resolution to this whole thing is kind of messy. Like, I don't fully like it when someone is doing really terrible things and then somebody else, like, points that out to them or shows them what they're doing, and then that person is then like, "Oh, I'm a monster, what have I done?" That's what they did with Wanda, which I think is a disservice to the character, basically making it seem as though she can flip-flop between being good and bad without there really being an in-between, really. It's just lazy, or just at the very most, messy. But looking past those issues, I'm glad Marvel has finally tried something fresh and mostly unique. Although the film may have had some story issues that doesn't quite properly use the characters it has, and it does suffer from writing issues, the presentation here was amazing, and it dared to try something unique, without turning out like a snorefest like Eternals. And although I may have trashed on this film pretty hard, I still had a good time watching it. And out of a lot of the MCU's catalog of films, this one right here I can go back to and rewatch time and time again, like the first. So with that, I give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a 7 out of 10. I would have loved to give this film an 8 or higher, but the messy nature of it keeps it from reaching those heights, and the visuals, camera work, and unique style keep it from being lower than that. Hopefully though, with the success of this film and the positive outlook on Sam Raimi, he'll get another chance to work with this character and actually get full reins of whatever project he'll be working on next. For the love of God, Marvel, let directors do what they want. Oh wait, you are!